Now, be careful because just like we showed with that last example, you could just do 40 times 12 and it's like thumbs up, right? But you should always check for greatest common factors. And right here, I can see that we can reduce these numbers specifically because they're all even, right? So I'm going to do that first. Now, whether you factor because I'm going to factor out a 2, with 4, thank you, 4. I'm going to factor out a 4. Whether you factor out well, 2 or 4, right now or later, it should happen. It has to happen eventually because it's part of the factoring. So let's factor out our 4 here from each of these terms. And I can't factor out an x from each term, so I'm not worried about the x's. But the 4, yeah, no problem. Let's factor out a 4 here. So the first term, 40 divided by 4 would be 10. We'll keep the x squared. 68 divided by 4 would be, thank you, 17x. And then 12 divided by 4, I can do that one in my head. It's a 3, so I feel good. Okay, so that just makes the number smaller, because if you did 40 times 12, 480, yeah, there's a lot of factoring there, lots of factoring. But it still works. It still works. You can still factor by grouping from that, but by factoring out the greatest common factor to start with, it makes the factoring by grouping now, in my opinion, much easier. Because we're going to take the leading coefficient 10 and then the constant 3 and multiply these to get 30. So I'm just looking for factor pairs for 30 that add up to 17, right? Now, I know some of you guys know what it is, but I'm going to run through this, not to be redundant, but just for practice. So I would start with 1 and 30, which when I add together is 31, so it's not 17. That's no good. 2 and 15, boom, we found it. So that didn't take very long. 3 and 10, of course, wouldn't work. It's close. But I do know that 2 plus 15 is 17. So you could factor, well, we're going to have to factor by grouping. So 17x, I'm going to split it up into those two factors, 2x's and, by the way, it's positive 2x's, and then positive 15x's. Now, I'm going to not worry about the 4 right now. I'm going to apply it to my multiplication later. But my full expression right now from inside the parentheses, 10x squared plus 2x plus 15x plus 3. Okay, now I took the trinomial, and just like we saw yesterday, I'm factoring with a 4-term polynomial, which means I should be able to factor by grouping. So let's factor by grouping because it's so much fun. And my first set of parentheses here, I can factor out, looks like a 2x right there, right? So the 10 sorry, I should focus on one part at a time. Let's focus on just the 2. So if I factor out a 2 from the 10, I get a 5. If I factor out a 2 from the 2x, it's just, you can show the 1 if you'd like. I'm going to get rid of it later, though. But then I would focus on the letters, so I got the x squared and x. I can factor out an x from both of those. From the first term, we have an x left over. The second one, looks like I need that 1 right there. Because I factored out, from this second term, I factored out all 2x's right there. So I'm just left with the 1. And then the second set here, looks like from that I can factor out a positive 3, specifically from the 15 and the 3, right? So 15 divided by 3 is 5. 3 divided by 3 is 1. And then we keep the x with that first term. Now, I didn't specify this first. Were we expecting this to be 5x plus 1? Yeah, we were, because this one was also 5x plus 1. So what do we get? And I'm still working within that parentheses. I'm just not showing it yet. I will, just not yet. So from those two terms, I can factor out a 5x plus 1. But what's left over? Well, the first term had a 2x left over, and the second term had a positive 3 left over, and that would have been working from inside the parentheses, so I can apply the 4 there. But the parentheses now are kind of a redundancy, so just to make it look pretty, let's get rid of this garbage. And now even the 4 is kind of far away right there. If that bothers you, then you're a math nerd, but you can put multiplication if that makes you feel good. You just don't have to. And I really don't care about distance right now. If it's way over here, that'd be a problem. But I can see that this was being applied. So if you had kept everything the way it was, you would have kept parentheses here and here, and then you would have shown the 4 throughout the problem as well. But I don't really recommend doing that because having the 4 there, sometimes it causes confusion for students. Like, what the crap is that 4 doing there? We yanked it out earlier, and it's okay for it to be there, but I like to wait till the end to reapply it to the expression.